Welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum where all voices matter. Our guest today has a lot to say about Canada's abundance of resources and yet our lack of ability to meet worldwide demand. We are, in fact, hoarding our resources. Boom and Bust welcomes Heather Exner-Pirot. She is a senior fellow at the MacDonald-Laurier Institute, a Canadian think tank. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
So I guess the first question, obviously, is what prompted you to write an article entitled Canada is Hoarding Its Resources?
Well, I mean, obviously the German chancellor's visit prompted it, but for months before, we had been working with various embassies, Korean, American, Japanese, and every conversation I ever had with someone from overseas was, how come you can't get our resources? What will it take? How can we get the LNG? How can we get the critical minerals, the fertilizer, the wheat? And so this all kind of was percolating. And then when obviously the chancellor came here, needing to get an LNG deal, wanting to get an LNG deal, and was told that, the best we could do was green hydrogen in about 5-10 years. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, that we need to know that we have those resources, our allies need it, and there's something happening in the middle that's not getting out there.
Yeah, so let's unpack that a bit, Heather, because I found the story quite extraordinary. The German chancellor is invited to Canada. Clearly, there had been some preparatory work. It would not be a surprise to Canadian officials or to the Prime Minister that Germany is interested in pretty immediately getting its hands on some natural gas because of the upcoming winter and with the shutdown of supply from Russia. And the response of the Prime Minister, I'm paraphrasing, but was basically to say, well, there's no business case for that. But here, let me show you let me show you a plot of land that he hopes will be a hydrogen plant a few years from now. Am I missing something in the plot here? Is that basically what happened?
Well, I think it's even more than that. I think, the energy crisis and the natural gas deficit started in Europe last year. They were seeing record spikes of natural gas last year. And we could all foresee that this was happening many years ago. In fact, Germany and Canada signed an MOU on energy security, I think 2 years ago. So it wasn't even just, between February and August that this need became obvious. It's been going on for a while, and not least for climate change reasons, to get off coal. And so other people have been working at this for some time. It shouldn't come as no surprise. Canada was caught unprepared. And the Europeans will pay for those errors.
So I'm also interested in something else you said right at the outset, that you've had discussions with other representatives of other countries as well. So this seems to be not just dealing with Germany. It's a worldwide phenomenon where there's demand for Canadian resources.
Well, the big LNG project on the West Coast, which has taken, far too long. And I think much of it made of the fact that Canada and US both started with almost no LNG export capacity, in 2012. And now the Americans have 16 or 17, and we're, building one. That has Japanese, Korean, Malaysian, and Chinese investment. That's Asia looking to Canada. It's a short, pretty safe trade route, reliable partner, and a tremendous natural gas, reserves on that coast, trying to get that Canadian LNG. And so even for them to hear Trudeau say, he also made the comment that they'd be looking at, shortening some timelines in the regulatory process to get some LNG over, that they'd look at that after saying there was no business case. For our Japanese and Korean friends, they must be thinking, can you shorten up the regulatory process for the LNG Canada plant that we've invested billions of dollars in? So,
Incredible.
It must be maddening for our allies to see what we have.
Indeed. So I guess itemize, we've got a minute left. This might get to the second segment too, but start to itemize what the impediments are to getting our resources to these needy markets.
So there is a very convoluted regulatory framework in Canada. We have some federal regulations going up against provincial, territorial ones. There's also the Indigenous duty to consult process, which isn't always clear at all. And then then things change in midstream. And so when I hear from producers, they're fine with strict environmental regulations, duty to consult, all those things, but at least let them know what they are so that they can address them head on.
We're going to take a brief break, Heather. Very interesting conversation. There's still lots to talk about, but we will take a break for our commercial sponsors. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages.